I was sent a few notes. I think that's all they are, from things you said at a very recent conference. So I read through them, and I thought, well, I'll ask you one or two things about them, because some of it is, I believe, new information that hasn't appeared in your earlier messages. Now, I work out that what you've apparently said, putting a couple of comments together, is that it would be about 1 year after we have a change of government that people may then already start transferring to the ships. And if I may tell you how I've arrived at that, in case it's not immediately apparent, I think you've said that contact will happen 6 to 8 months after the changes in the government.
Right.
And that 20% of the people, I believe this is correct to term it, ascending, will go to the ships and experience the same metamorphosis as those going to the inner Earth. Now, you gave a time scale for that of about 4 to 6 months. So you can see what I've done. I've sort of added up the longer period and sort of settled for about 1 year. So would that be a correct conclusion, 1 year after the change of government, that they may be starting to transfer to the ships, etc.?
Right, yeah. It's not going to be very long between the time the transfer in government happens to the final aspects of the ascension process beginning.
All right, that's very quick, isn't it?
Right, that's why they expect us to do a lot of things very quickly, because we have technology that's been long suppressed on this particular planet, that if we didn't suppress it, we would not have the problems we're having right now with pollution, and also we would not have the problems we're having right now with oil, because oil would be just some minor little lubricant all over again if we totally had allowed these various technologies to come in at the time that the inventors who created them wanted them to come in, which would roughly have been the first quarter of the 20th century.
Right, yeah. Yes, we're way behind, aren't we, in our evolution in that sense?
Right, we are, because unfortunately the Illuminati decided and got the help from their mentors, the Anunnaki, to allow this oil age to continue way past the time frame when it was supposed to have basically transferred or evolved into the next stages of our technology.
Yeah.
And that's why we got things like the electronic age, and yet we're still using gasoline for the basic aspect of how we propel our motor cars around. So.
Yes, yes. Okay. Just coming back to the inner Earth, I gather at this conference you were talking of an experience you had where you went into the inner Earth and in 5 minutes, with a device that attuned to your brain waves, you covered every inch of the city, about 40 by 40 miles. And I wondered if you could give us any of your experiences. I mean, what did the buildings look like? I'd love to know what the inner cities look like.
Well, the outside of the inner cities look like giant clusters of quartz crystals, basically. And the giant difference, of course, is that they're multicolored and that they're living crystals, in that as you wish it to change, so it does. So the crystals may slightly change form in terms of their shape or their size. They get bigger, smaller, and the city increases or decreases as the inhabitants wish to expand or contract how they're putting their living quarters and every other part of the city together. And it's an individual as well as a collective decision. And the other thing that you will notice about the cities is that they're very, very beautiful, not just the amazing ultraviolet color changing that you see as you approach them. It's also, as you walk around in the cities, you notice there's lots of gardens of all different kinds and types, from tropical to temperate types of things, from tropical trees to various kind of, in other words, from conifers and palms to maples and elms, etc., as well as aligned all together in gardens, so they form these wonderful, almost like wall-like structures. And then in the hearts of a lot of these cities are these control centers, and what you have is these huge, amazing gardens that come together, and also these wonderful holographic theaters, which allow you to do whatever you want to do. It's kind of like Star Trek Plus. If you ever saw Next Generation, they talked about the holographic theaters there. They talked about all the things you could do in them. They've reached a technology that's really far beyond what even Roddenberry allowed for the people to put in. And so not only can you be in one place, but you can actually just walk a few feet or drive a few feet or whatever, and you'll actually be passing for miles through some place that you wanted to go. So it'll feel like you're on a trip somewhere. And so they have this ability. If they want to change their houses, they can change their houses' shapes, size, what the room looks like, the furniture in it, because they have these really, really advanced units that allow them to bring any kind of thing into their houses that they want. So let's say they want to make their table bigger for their dining. Let's say they decided to have a party and they're paying some extra people that normally wouldn't fit. They can go and just enlarge it and change the shape of it and make it bigger. They can make their living room bigger or their dining room bigger. And so they have a lifestyle that's a lot different than what we're used to here, because to them the concept of limits doesn't exist. So if you want to change all your furniture every day, you can do it.
Yeah.
So you realize that you have people who don't understand about limits and the concept of you can do only this, you can't do that, or you can't go here, you can't go there. To them, everything is available, any kinds of foods, any kind of concept of a trip where you want to go. And so they do that all the time inside the cities, and they also occasionally go outside the cities, which are gorgeous. The ecological areas around each one of these cities is amazing, whether it's the cavern world cities, which are inside these huge caverns that exist between the Earth's surface and the inner surface of the planet, and also the outer, which are or I could say the inner surface world, because really if you look at the surface of the Earth is hollow. The surface that we see here on our planet as the outer world, as I like to call it, as also they do, it just continues. It goes around the lip, which is the north and south poles, and continues directly on the inside of the planet. And because there's a shift in the gravity about halfway down, they would be considered walking on the surface of the world just as we would, just walking in the opposite way on the surface. So once you understand how the Earth is really put together, how the gravity really operates, etc., you start seeing a world that's a lot different from what geology and science has limited our thought into what it really is. And there's enough information from enough major people and scientists to prove that a lot of things that people are told is not really real. There is indeed a hollow Earth, and there is indeed an amazing central sun that, while not as bright as the sun that we see in our sky every day, is still pretty bright and a little more diffuse in its light, but it's still able to light up the inner world. And, of course, the inner world, unlike here, which we have a 24-hour cycle of, depending on the time of year, of a certain amount of sunlight, certain amount of darkness, what they have is 24/7 light all the time. So the crystal cities have no windows or doors unless they want to create them. Once again, all these things are living. It's actually a living crystal, so it can change its size and shape. And if you want to put windows on it, they can. But it's done that way so that the people who live in the cities totally create their environment. And so when they need to go for their short period of, which is not really sleep, it's kind of like reconstituting themselves about an hour a day, they just turn off the light, so to speak, and go into a deep trance and wake up. And when they wake up, they turn the lights back on, so to speak. So.
Right. When you're visiting these areas, do they also include such things as temples or healing centers? Do they need them?
Most of the healing centers and temples are near the bottoms of the cities. This is the area I didn't really cover in the tape, but what it really is they have these nodes which exist on our planet. Our planet is actually a 12-faceted crystal with 12 minor nodes, 144 major facets. And on each of these major and minor facet nodes is where these temples are on the inside of the planet. And just about all the major cities, crystal cities on the inside of the planet or in the crystal worlds, located on one of these nodes, and so their job is to take a spot which is in the city, and